The Menochos daf ayin aleph ayin base on aleph is starting from ayin aleph of the base from Eved Shamata. Okay, it was just to go over yesterday. Yes, I left out a whole piece from yesterday. Yesterday we Rava is the Shaila, and it says that Benegeya, a case where Nemolim are ants that had eaten, they eat from the bottom, or grasshoppers eat from the top, or the wind knocked it down. So we said, they've been engaged to the dinner paya, that it should be considered as a separate field. If there's a hefsek between, in the field, there's like a shura, or 4 ames, or 16 ames, or a shvil, ben yach ben rabin, that's going to break up the field into two, and you're going to need to bring payer for both. So he says, what's a case of nimolin or chagavim that he didn't cut? So we said, everybody's made that what? That it's only if he made a charisha, it's going to be a separation. So the Gemara asked the kasha. Madoch, when he cuts it, like shachas, he himself cuts it. You don't need charisha, it separates the field into two. For sure, he didn't cut it where the grasshoppers did it, or the ants did it. For sure, it should be considered as a separation. Says the Gemara. So, how are we going to answer the difference? In our Mishnah says, our Mishnah says that our Mishnah says that it is not considered, even if he cuts it, it's not considered ktsira, even though there was no chlisha. So we try to answer, there's a difference between our Mishnah and this Brisa. Our Mishnah is talking about before the Shlish. So before the Shlish, we say it's not considered as a Ktsira. That Brisa that said you need a Harisha to separate it is after it grew a third. That's how we want to learn the Chilik. So it says, and that's how Rav Meir learns it. Rav Meir goes like Rav Yehuda. That before Shlish.
We finished up yesterday. We saying the 3 Tanoim, Rav Shimon, Rav Yehuda.
Wait, we're getting to it. I have to get. Yeah, but I have to say it over.
Those are the words I used.
Right, so I have to get to the Hakdama first. So Rav Meir explains. So we said Rav Meir holds in the Shita of Rav Yehuda that says, if he didn't bring a Shlish, it's not a Ktsir. It's considered as a Ktsira. But if it was a Shlish, then it's considered as a Ktsira. And that's how we'll answer the Bryce and the Mishnah. Says Gemara, say that Rabbi Yehuda was machalik between the tfuah that grew a third and not, only when it's kaitzel behema. But when he's kaitzel adam,
it's different.
Even if it's less than a shlish.
So that's a kasha. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the ktsira for a person should be considered as a ktsira even if it's less than a shlish, even if he did it for the oats, for himself, to eat it as oats. Says Gemara de Mikain, if you're going to say that the Rabbi Yehuda, the Gemara is proving that according to Rabbi Yehuda, Ktsira Shachis for a person is considered as a Ktsira. Because the Mikain, if Rabbi Yehuda says it's not going to be considered as a Ktsira, even if it grows a shlish for a Adam, Havalahu Klasa Tanoi. Like AB said yesterday, there are 3 Tanoim.
I only mentioned the name.
Oh, okay. What's going to be the 3 different opinions? The Chacham say befeish that it's only mutter to cut for a behema. Rabbi Yehuda argues with the Tanakama. He says, you're allowed to cut even for an Adam. And Rav Shimon says, who's the third opinion, that you're allowed to cut l'tzedek adam even if they had grown a third. And we know there's no 3 opinions, because when it says a masa in the Mishnah, which it does, he's coming only to be mafarish the Tanakama. Here it says there's a cloud. Every place where Rabbi Yehuda says a masa, when is it said? So he's coming to explain the words of the Tana before him, which is the Chachamim. And the Chachamim said it only by Behema, not by Adam. What did it? So you have to say Rabbi Yehuda holds like the Tanakama, that you could cut before a shlish only l'tzedek Behema, but not l'tzedek Adam. Says the Gemara, you're right. So Eliki Yase Avdimi says you want to only when. So now after we had proven that the Shita Ameya does not go according to these two Tanoim, because Ameya holds that even if it's Rameya holds only up to a shlish. Rabbi Shimon says even more than a shlish. So it says the Gemara, who does Rameya hold like? Says the Gemara, he cannot hold like the Tastana Kama.
So Dibba says.
Eliki also Avdim. So when Avdim came from there, he sold the Baba. Amar Meya b'shitz Rabbi Akiva Rabba Yomar. Rabbi Meya said in the shita of his his Rabba, shitz Rabbi Akiva his Rabba. That what Amar Rabbi Akiva said. Af le'odam nami loy havi k'tzira. Even if it's for Adam, it's not going to be considered as a Kolzman. He didn't bring a shlish, less than a shlish. It's not that we learned in the Mishnah. Hamaname soda. Maname means he makes the soda look spotted. How? One row he has growing, the next row is empty. One row he has growing, one row he has empty. So somebody who does that, Hishiya by Klochim, Lachim, he left rows that was Klochim Lach means fresh tvua, wet tvua. Rabbi Akiva Ima Peya l'chol echad. He has to bring Peya because it's considered as separate. Every row is a different field because he has one row with tvua, one row empty, one row with tvua. So each row has a chiv of its own Peya. Racham say echad ala kol. You give one Peya for all of them. It's one field. He says one right. The ktsira of the shuris that he did in between those shuris, it was the tchilas ktsira. He says he still has to cut the rest of the field. It's one field. Rabbi Akiva wasn't mechayev a separate payer for each one. Only if he was kaitzed at four before the shlish, al manas to eat it roasted and sweet and roasted. But if he cut it and he to put away to store, and so then Rabbi Akiva was mechayev peya. He says it's one field. It's considered tchilas ktsira. It is a real ktsira because he's putting in le'itza. When you cut just for now, that's not a ktsira. He was cutting to eat, to roast it right away, not to store it.
We're talking about peya now, right?
Peya, yeah. So he says, so you see, Rabbi Akiva holds, even Ktsira L'Maichel Adam, right? When he's cutting it to eat it right away, is not considered as a Ktsira, and it's less than a Shlish. And Ramiyah goes like his Shita. In fact, you want to really? Rabbi Akiva said the din only before Shlish, Eini. Well, Kiyas and Ravin. When Ravin came from Babel from Eretz Yisrael, Amar Rabbi Yechon said, Mechayev Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was mechayev peya for each shura af b'mename la'oitza. So even b'mename la'oitza means that it grew bigger. When do you store it? When the tvua is bigger and you cut it, that's the type of tvua that you store. But the small ones you do it to eat right away, to have like the roasted little grains. So you see, Rabbi Akiva said even if it's more than three. Even more than a shlish is not considered as a ktsira. He says, even if you let it grow for big, more than a shlish to put away in the store, he says it's considered as separate fields because it's not the beginning of a ktsira. He doesn't consider it ktsira, so it's a separation between each shura.
So there's no difference between a shlish and not a shlish?
Not a shlish, according to Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Meir says only up to a shlish. Says you want to sub.
He holds like his Rebbe. No.
He holds like how could he hold like his Rebbe? Very good. So is that kasha. And if you want to sub like Kavasei Bechoda, Rabbi Meir holds like Rabbi Akiva Benegeya. Even if it's ktsira la'adam, it's not a ktsira kolzman. It's less than a shlish. But he argues with Rabbi Akiva that if it's more than a shlish la'adam, Rabbi Meir says it's a ktsira, and Rabbi Akiva says it's not.
How can you argue?
How can fight with the Rebbe?
He argued, no?
Can fight with the Rebbe?
Meir was very sharp. He was put all the way in the front. Nope. And we learned in the Mishnah that you're allowed to be koitzer. If you remember, the young trees and the tvua growing around it, so it's going to become kalayim.
So they go around
L'chayr, it's before the oima. You shouldn't be able to cut till the time of the k'tzis oima. But before it becomes kalayim, if it's a mitzvah to hold back from isa kalayim, you're allowed to cut it around, to cut the tvua. Or another shot, it gives more juice, more juice for the young trees. We said yesterday, when the Avel comes back from the cemetery, they should have where to sit, so they should be able to do Birchas Avelim. For a mitzvah, Birchas Avelim, you're allowed to do a ktsira for them to sit.
So small that time, the houses.
Maybe they didn't, they want to do it right away. Everybody was going to a different place. Or for the Beis HaMedrash, Mizalkan and Learn, that you should be able to learn. And the Beis HaMedrash was too small, they had to learn outside, so you're allowed to cut. My time. What's the reason that you're allowed? The Isa of Ktsira was only the Ktsira Sa'ima Reishis Ktsirchem, meaning that something that's for the mid for the Omer, but Litzorchechem. Why does it say Ktsirchem? Shalachem, which is Litzorchechem, but like Ktsir Mitzvah. Only if you want to use it for a private use, you're not allowed to stop cut before the time of the Hima. But if it's for a mitzvah, like we've had these three cases, to hold back from Kalayim or for Birchas Avelim or for learning Torah, was the Yamus Mitzvah, then you're allowed to be Kaitza. Says the Mishnah, Lo Yasa Kriches. You're not allowed to tie up bundles after you cut the Tvua, because Shema, if he ties it up, he might come to eat it if he's going to be Terech so much with it. You can leave it loose, put it in bundles, but don't tie it. Leave it loose, because the more you misasik with it, the more of a chance you're going to come. Shema Yavalachle. In fact, one of my time, what's the reason that it's also to tie the tvua? The comment have shaloi tachina says as much as you could. You shouldn't be misasik with the tvua. The least work you should do with the tvua. Why? Because number one, there'll be a shinoi. There's two pshatim he brings there. One is mitzat shinoi, and one is mitzat lo yav le'achlei. I'll bring yesh mefarshim she'atzerich v'shinoi k'dei she'yizkiru. He should remember she'atvua esura ba'achidim shumisa chadash v'lo yavay le'achlei. If he won't tie it, it's a shinoi, and he'll remember not to come to eat it. Achidim mefarshim she'atzerich k'dei she'yeh nika l'royim. That as the other people that are looking should say, you're not allowed to be koitza, because the reason why he's not tying it, because you're not allowed to really even cut before the Zman of the Eima. Okay, we learned the Mishnah mitzvah Eima lahav min hakama. The mitzvah of Eima is to cut from the standing tvua. But what if there was no standing tvua to take from? What did the Mishnah say? Take from the cut. And then it says it's a mitzvah to take from the fresh, from the wet tvua. If there's no wet tvua, what should you do? Take from the dry. That's what the Mishnah said.
What do we have?
The mitzvah is to cut it when? By night, the night before you count the sfira. But if you didn't cut it by night, then you can cut it by day. That's what we said in the Mishnah. Okay, that it says it says twice takriv. The pasuk says v'im takriv minchas bikurim laHashem avu kol ba'eish geres kamel geres carmel takriv. It says again. Takif is minchas bikurachas. Why is it? The first takif is extra. It says you want to lafisha mitzvah sa'ema lahavim min hakama, to tell you the extra takif that you have to take from standing tvua. Menayin shimon lo yimatzim min hakama yav min himarin. How do we know if he couldn't find standing tvua? He takes from the cut piled up. It says you want to tamalei takif. Again, the same takif teaches us anything that had to do with the mincha, b'diavad you can do diavadika things. Davacher, another pshat is takriv, comes to tell you lefisha mitzvah min alach. Lichatchila you're supposed to take from wet tvur. Manayim shim loy matzalach yav min ayavesh. Tamalei min takriv. He's telling you all the things that had to do with the avodah of the mincha sa'ima, all the ingredients. If b'diavad you can use secondary from the word takriv. Like the Mishnah says, but the takriv tells you can use secondary. Davacher, takriv. What does takriv come to tell you? Lefisha mitzvah selik tzur ba'layla. Really, the mitzvah is to cut them tvua by night. Niksa bayom kasha. Again, we learned out from the word takriv. V'doiches haShabbos. How do we know it overrides the Shabbos? Talmud leimer takriv. Says the Gemara. Takriv is mashma that you can be makiv even the kosher. Okay, kosher even small, even the from the small tvua.
Oh, you could. Oh,
kosher. Even from the piles, and it grows, it's not standing tvua. Takriv mikomakay. And takriv also tells you even from distance, from a distance away from Yerushalayim. By the time you bring it to Yerushalayim, it dries, right, and it's not lach. And it says Carmel means Carmel. Car means soft. So car lach.
Why did you tell us that this is cold?
That's what a kuf.
Car
is like a pillow.
It's soft.
What?
You can do it anywhere you want.
You can even find, because by the time you bring it, it's going to dry up. Taka tells you can bring it even for dry.
Why can't you have to bring it when it's close by? You have to not go when it's big. Why do you have to?
He's telling you, Chatchila.
You can bring it.
That's what he's telling you.
That's what the pasuk is.
Why?
Why? Why is the pasuk telling?
Because lechatchila you shouldn't. Lechatchila you should bring fresh. Lechatchila you should bring from standing tvua. Lechatchila you should cut it by night. Lechatchila you shouldn't.
So you need a pasuk to tell you, but the Eved is okay.
Yes. Va'afilu b'Shabbos takriv. Va'afilu b'tuma. Even with tuma. To tell you, Tumah is going to be over here.
That's so strong.
That it's Hut B'Tzibah. You're allowed, even though you could do with other Tvua, you can do with Tumah. Yeah. Okay, Zog.
Everybody holds like this, or the.
I'm not sure if you have other Tvua, he's probably going to say you have to bring other Tvua. But he's telling you even with Tumah. Okay.
Niksa.
Zog. We learned in the Mishnah Niksa by Yom Kosher. If he even cut it,
next day.
Not the night, but in the day after the night, it's kosher. A whole night you're allowed to cut ema, and you're also a whole night you're allowed to be makted the chalavim and the ivarim. Those are parts that go on the mizbeach. Zah klal davshem mitzvah kol hayoyim kosher kol hayoyim. Davshem mitzvah b'alayla kosher kol halayla. Anything that's a mitzvah by day, the whole day. Anything mitzvah and that's by night is the whole night. Ketani laila dumni yom. We learned the night similar to the day. Ma the yom balayla light. Just like when you say yom excludes the night. So after laila, by yom after laila by yom nami loy. So too, even the night going to the day is not going to be just like the yom. Meaning, just like something that's a mitzvah that has to be done by day cannot be done by night, so too the things that are mitzvah by something that's a mitzvah to do by night. How could you say the next day you can cut the ema? If the mitzvah is to be done, the Ketzilus ema is supposed to be by night. How can you say niksa bayim kasha?
Wait another night?
No, that's it. It doesn't. Fafal, yeah. Amarabba loy kasha. It's not a kasha. This Mishnah that says if he cut by day it's kosher is Rabbi who says that you can bring b'diavad, you could be kaitza even by day. But the Mishnah in Megillah that says anything that's a mitzvah by night by day is possible. Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon follows a different opinion. Follows Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon. The Tanya that we learned in Abraisa says if the kohen was standing and he was making the minchas v'nit meis. And the kohen became tummy.
How became tummy?
The tvua became tummy. The tumah, because if you see from the next word, richtig. So, and that, because from the next words you'll see im yesh acheres. If there's other tvua that he's able to bring, which is toy, we say bring the other ones. But even though there's a machlokes, if tumah tchuya b'tziba or tumah huta b'tziba. Tumat chuya b'tziba zicha dachnamen the Torah dike. Because the chuya means b'diavad. If you don't have, you use it. The chuya, right? But it's only a b'diavad dike you were yoytza. Tuba huta b'tziba means lechatchila. It's mutter. He says even though it's lechatchila mutter, nevertheless he should take Torah dike tvua. That's the chiddush here. Mim lav And if there's no other tvua, Emelei, Havi Pikeach Zaiklug, be smart, Ushreik, and keep quiet.
Does
Rabbi.
do the job.
Yeah, because you're going to stop making a whole issue. People are going to think you're allowed to be makif tamid. Don't tell anybody that's tamid. Just do your thing.
What's your kosher?
Yeah, push it under the rug. It's like we threw snowballs on Rabbi Tenenbaum. And so, who was standing next to him? I think Rabbi Yumilsky says there was a Waffen Steinballs over there. There's throwing snowballs. There's a kicknish, the schweig. Don't look. Rabbi Lazar Reb Shimon. Rabbi Lazar Reb Shimon Reb Shimon says, "Bein kach or bein kach," whether there is others or not. Even if there are others, just be makir b'tuma. Even if you can get better, but the other one's bitar. Shakola ima shenikse shaleik mitzvah say, Marshall, if it wasn't cut, you're going to wait till the next day to get Torah Diketvua. He says, no, we're not going to wait till the next day. The mitzvah is tonight, so he says, even if you can find Torah and wait till tomorrow, don't.
It's too late.
Because he says the next day is possible. So that's Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon, yeah. So you see, Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon doesn't hold like our Mishnah. That it is kosher, niksa by yom kosher. But Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon says not.
That's why he says to be quiet.
Yes, no doubt. We know now we're reaching to the days of Svida. Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 Talmidim, and they all died. And it says he started to learn Torah with 5 more Talmidim. Nach dem was the 24,000 Talmidim sein weg. Rabbi Akiva started all over again with 5 Talmidim. One of the Talmidim was Reb Shimon, the father of Rabbi Lazar. So it says that Rabbi Lazar, the son of Reb Shimon, we know when Rabbi Lazar came out from the cave with Reb Shimon, when he would see somebody and he thought he's doing an Aveda, gleich verbrennt geworden, or the Felder sind verbrennt geworden. So they went back into the cave. Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Shimon had to take out the fires.
Rabbi Lazar.
Rabbi Lazar.
He was even stronger than his father.
No, Rabbi Shimon hat Eis gelassen.
Okay. On fire.
Gemacht fire, yeah. Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon b'shitz Rabbi Akiva Rabbi Shalovit. So Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon followed the shita of Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Akiva was learned with the first 5 Talmidim. One of the 5 first was Rabbi Shimon, his father. Amora. He said like Rabbi Akiva. That's not that we see that we learned in the Mishnah, many Mishnayos, by benegay to mitzvahs that override the Shabbos. Klal Amar Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said a rule. Kol melacha she'efshel la'asoi semer of Shabbos and yodah Shabbos. Any melacha was meken up to far Shabbos, then it's not the Shabbos. L'mash by bris. The mitzvah bris, muzayin by Yom Hashmini. But the Kalim, the Machshirim, he was able to bring before Shabbos. Right. So Rabbi Akiva says, no, that you can't bring on Shabbos. There's a machlekes, I think it's Rabbi Lazar, says that you could bring on Shabbos. Yeah, Rabbi Lazar says even the Machshirei, for the Mila, you're allowed.
Otherwise
he doesn't hold of this rule. Only Rabbi Akiva says that anything that you can do before Shabbos, you have to do before Shabbos.
Was also a Talmud at Rabbi Akiva?
No, Rabbi Shimon
was a Talmud.
The Talmud. He was I told you, he was from the 5 Talmidim. Rabbi Elazar was the son of Shimon. Huh? Shabbos. Okay, yeah. So the mother of Sava law. One second. So the mother of Sava law. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon holds Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Elazar holds like Rabbi Yishmael. The oven that he says, Tziras ha'ima mitzvah. He says the cutting of the Aimah, that in itself is a mitzvah, and that's why it overrides the Shabbos. Okay, the Tanakh that we learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Shmuel Aimah. It says in the Torah, Sheish Yom Tavit, V'hayim Yashvi Tishbeis, Be'chodesh V'akotze Tishbeis. So the Torah was masmich. Masmich means brought the melacha of Charisha Uktzir B'Shabbos close to the din of Aimah to compare it. Ma Chorish Rishus, just like the Chorish of the Sheishis Yamim is a shus. Kol chrisha is not a mitzvah; it's a malacha. Av kotzir, so too the pasuk when it says benegay to cutting is also the shus. Yotza ktzir oima shei mitzvah, but excluding the ktzir of oima, that you're allowed to do because according to Rabbi Yishmael, if shisha asa the second day of Pesach, that's the day that you're supposed to bring the oima. So he says, then the cutting of the sa'idim. Remember, sa'idim is the ingredient for the oima, barley, correct? Then it overrides the Shabbos, he says, Rabbi Yishmael, because then it's the Ktziras HaMitzvah. So he's talking about Nitza, Shaloi K'mitzvah, Kasha, and if it's going to enter your mind, if he cut it, Shaloi K'mitzvah, meaning, Lamashal, if you say by day, you have to be koitza by night, right? It's shaloik mitzvah. Amayda Shabbos. Why could he cut if the ktsira belel shisha asa is deicha the Shabbos? Why? Why shouldn't nixer emer Shabbos? He could cut it before Shabbos. So if it's something that you can do before, here he says that he's learned. If you're going to say the ktsira is not. It's not a time bounding because you say you can do it the next day, right? So maybe you can do it a day before. That's what he's assuming. So he can do it at Erev Shabbos. So anything that can be done by Erev Shabbos, according to Rabbi Akiva, you're not allowed to do it on Shabbos. Shabbos. Only from this that it says that the Ktsira, Rabbi Shmuel says the Ktsira of Eimah does override the Shabbos. Shmami, no, it comes to tell you, Niksa Shalai Kimitzvah. If you're not going to do it, it's time by the right time. Puzzle is going to be puzzle. Obviously, he holds the only time you can do it is by night, and any other time by day or the day before is going to be puzzle. So we see that according to Rabbi Yishmael, that it's that the Ktsira is a mitzvah to do it by night, and by day it's going to be possible. So according to Rabbi Akiva, who says any malacha that you can do before Shabbos, it doesn't override the Shabbos. So the makkah of Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon is right that because the mitzvah of Omer is a mitzvah, it has to be done dafka by night, not by day. Says Rabbi lav talmid Rabbi Shimon who, and Rabbi you want to say is nisht a talmud from Rabbi Shimon, but Tanya. You're saying Rabbi is going to hold that if he koitze by day, nikse by yom is going to be puzzle. The Mishnah, right? The Mishnah says it's kosher. I'm sorry, Rabbi says it's kosher. Rabbi Shimon says it's puzzle. Let me just make sure again. Rabbi Shimon, let's see what we say. Nikse by yom mitzvah. Nikse by yom kosher. Do we brought Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon said you can by day. Probably Rabbi Elazar was saying the same thing as Rabbi Shimon, because he holds like Rabbi Akiva that if it wasn't a mitzvah only by night, then you wouldn't be able to. Then you wouldn't be able to be kaitzer on Shabbos. It wouldn't be Deichas HaShabbos. So he obviously holds it's Deichas HaShabbos because it's dafka by night. So he holds like that it can only be done by night, not by day. So and Rabbi who says it can be done by day, obviously is arguing with Rabbi Elazar, who's the son of Rabbi Shimon. But in fact, you wonder how could he be arguing on Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon? Rabbi Elazar was following Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Shimon's Rebbe. In fact, you wonder, but Rabbi Lav Talmid Rabbi Shimon who? How could Rabbi say that it's kosher by day if Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon, which Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Akiva say it can only be done by night? Well, Tanya will prove to you, Rebbe was a Talmud from Rabbi Shimon. When you learned by Sama Rebbe said, Kishayinu lemedim Torah eitz Rabbi Shimon b'Tkoya, it says. Rebbe says, when we were learning Torah by Rabbi Shimon in the city of Tkoya, Hayinu mayon lo shemen, we would bring him oil, v'aluntis, and a towel to dry himself after he came out of the bathhouse. And how would they do it? Mechotz legag, v'gag lekafif, lekafif, lekafif. they didn't have the towel, and they didn't have the oil. So what did they do? They had a guy jump from one Rishus Hayach to the next, because Reb Shimon goes with the Shita. Even though it's owned by different owners, if it's a Rishus Hayach from one Rishus Hayach to the next, it's considered one Rishus Hayach. So they were allowed to carry the hantach with the oil and bring it to him, because he only went through all Rishus Hayach. This is just a side note how they brought it to him. It was like all his backyard. But the point that we want to bring out is Rabbi was a student of Rabbi Shimon. And Rabbi is saying that you're allowed to be koitze the Tvua by the next day. And Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Akiva says you can.
It can be Deicha Shabbos.
We can be, and that's why it could be Deicha Shabbos. Only because it has a set time. Because if it's not a set time, you could bring it whenever you want. So why was he allowed to be Deicha Shabbos? Obviously, he holds by the next day it's also. And Rabbi says it's mutter. I mean, what a sabalog kidich Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi holds like the other Hayra of Rabbi Shimon. Tanya, we learned in the Braisa. And they gave the Tmidim Musaf that Amakiv on Shabbos. I'm Rabbi Shimon. Bayrei Kama Chaviva Mitzvah B'Shaita. How beloved is to perform the mitzvah in its zman. Shehek Chalav Me'evarim Shenim Kol Halayla. We know burning the Chalav and the Evarim, the fats and the limbs, are kosher all night after the Hakrava. And you can even be, okay? So he says, and they didn't wait to burn the Tmidim U'Masafim of Shabbos at Shetechshach. They should have waited till Matzah Shabbos. No, they didn't. Because it was so special to keep it Bizman. Because of the mitzvah. So maybe he holds here the same thing. Says, but Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon didn't hear this Hayra of Rabbi Shimon. I mean, that when it comes to perform a mitzvah bizmana, so you're even deicha the Shabbos. It says no by hektar v'chalavim, even though you can do it after Shabbos, but if it's a mitzvah, it's better to perform the mitzvah bizman and it's deicha the Shabbos. It says only by hektar v'chalavim be'evarim they allowed it. Al shani hasam day it's different. Sharei dachsa shchitas haShabbos. Because the shechita can only be done with Shabbos. So once you're already being mechala, I don't want to say mechala Shabbos. Once you're already being deichel Shabbos with the shechita, so you burn the evarim mechalavin. Ula Rabbi, but Mashen came by the ktsir, so he didn't do anything. Ula Rabbi, if so, hachinami. So he shouldn't learn out from the haktoras chalav me'evarim. Why did he say that you are allowed to be kaitz daima the next day? He says, Rabbi, yeah, Dachas Shchita es HaShabbos. So since it's Dachas Shchita es HaShabbos, that's why the Svara of Chaviva Mitzvah Shaita that they should burn the Evarim and the Chalav. Mashenkin by Tzitz Ha'ima, where the Shabbos wasn't Nitcha. So L'cheira, well, he shouldn't do it. So why did why is it Deichas Shabbos? Only you have to say Rabbi who says that it's that you can do the next day, and it's not time bounding as a chayiv, and you cannot learn now from the Chalavim and the Evarim, because the Chalav and Evarim they were already Deichas Shabbos because of the Shechita. And so it's not time bounding up Pitera. So according to Rebbe, the Ksir of the Eimah wouldn't override the Shabbos. So
even though he said that before, we learned that
before we thought he says that you could. So he says it's retracted. Yeah, Ksir doesn't override the Shabbos. We learned in the Mishnah. He was allowed to bring from the 3 soyim of Seidim Hayabah. So they had to cut the tvua of 3 soyim to get 1 mufcha dikesela. So you see, you're allowed to do it on Shabbos. So that Mishnah is like Rabbi, it's not Rabbi. In fact, it says, you brought 3 people, cut the tvua, b'shalish kupis with 3 boxes, b'shalish margolis with 3 sickles. So you see, on Shabbos you're allowed to do it. From the Mishnah, he says, the like Rabbi, that wasn't Rabbi. It wasn't following Shittas Rabbi. It says in the Gemara, Ube Shabbos, they said, Shabbos, Yoim Elahem, Shabbos, who is it Shabbos? They said, yeah. Ahim Ekser, should I cut, hid, yes. So you see, a lot of cut on Shabbos, the Mishnah said that, by the Bikurim, understand, by the Aima, and the Gemara like Rabbi. That's not Rabbi's Shita. Okay, Zog the Gemara, Nix Vayem Kosh V'Deichsa Shabbos, but we learned the
We
Mishnah.
changed the whole thing. Before we said Rebbe was Matter.
Right, now we're saying it's not Rebbe, it's a different person.
So who is this? They don't say what this is?
It's the Tana, it's the Tanakama, whoever it is. Nix Vayem Kosh V'Deichsa Shabbos. It says if it was cut by day, it's kosher and it overrides the Shabbos. In fact, the one Marshamat Lei, the Amma Nix Vayem Kosher, who's the one that said Nix Vayem is kosher? Rebbe.
We just said
Rebbe.
we said
No, we didn't use the word Nix Vayem. So he says, we learned before on Ayin Beis and the Aleph, that if the Oima became Tameh, while they were, so it says you could take other Bali, and be Maked Oima, even it's on Shabbos. Uve Katani, and we learned that there's Shabbos, you can still override the Shabbos. My love, is it then not Ksira that you're allowed to do the cutting on Shabbos to get new Seirim? Says Gemara Loi Lahakrava. It means that you can be Makriv already cut for a cut Seirim. Aval Ksira Loi, not for Ksira. In fact, Gemara Vatanya, we learned in the Rabbi Rabbi Yom Hayidab and Moshe Esmaya Hashem Abnei Yisrael. In fact, what is this pasuk coming to tell us? We already mentioned all the Yom Tevim in the previous psukim, that Moshe is the one that said it to the Bnei Yisrael. So what does he come to tell us? Repeating the same thing. Vayidab Moshe as Maya Hashem. And the one lefi shaloi lamadu elot tamadu Pesach. Shenam b'hem Maya Day. It only says when they get to Kabed Tabin Pesach, where there it says the word Maya Day. Maya Day, afilu b'Shabbos, Maya Day, afilu b'Tama. Maya Day is coming to tell you even the Shabbos and even b'Tuma. So that's what we know by Tamid and Pesach. Shor Kabbanas Hatzibur Menayin. How are we going to know about other Kabbanas Hatzibur that you can do it b'Shabbos and b'Tuma? Tamid Leima and Pashas Pinchas, at the end of the Pashas HaKabbanas, it says, Elo Tasel Hashem b'Maya Deichem. That's to tell you b'Shabbos and b'Tuma. Umenayin l'Rabbis Oima HaKaravima. How do you know b'Negei to the Oima, even b'Tuma and b'Shabbos? Ushtei alachem ha'karavimai, and by the shtei alachem also v'tumah b'Shabbos. Tamad leima v'yidab Moshe esmayed Hashem ha'kosiv kava meid lekulam. So here, this second pasuk v'yidab Moshe esmayed Hashem is telling you all the meyadim are the oima, including the oima, which is Pesach, including the shtei alachem, which is Shavuos, that are sacrificed by meyadam b'Shabbos u'b'tumah. In fact, what is he dashing a benegeya that the Oima Shtei Alechem overrides the Shabbos and it could be betuma ilema lehakrava? If you're talking about only benegeya to being makriv, it can override the Shabbos. Betuma Shtei Alechem bnei hakrava. No, Shtei Alechem was not put on the mizbeach. The kabbanis that came with the Shtei Alechem went on the mizbeach, but the Shtei Alechem himself wasn't. Says Gemara Elapshita. It means for the grinding and the sifting. With the kevasa, and by oima, it's referring to the cutting. And you see, it overrides the Shabbos. Says Gemara, no. Oima means but it being to be makiv on the mizbeach, that it's you can put it on the mizbeach and override the Shabbos. And the shtei alachem la'afiyah, meaning that you're allowed to even bake the shtei alachem on Shabbos.
But everything was ready before.
But it was ready before. The other stuff were ready before because of Rebbe Tanur Kaddish. And Rebbe holds that the tanur, the baking of the shtei alachem, makes it holy. The shtei alachem. And therefore, if you would bake it from before Shabbos, then you're going to have a night going over, and the shtei alachem on the Shavuos will be possible. So that's why we do it on Shabbos by day. Does Rebbe hold that Tana is mekadosh the shtei alachem? Tani we learned in the Braisa. Kivsei atzeres ein mekachem es alachem. The kivsei of the kabbanis of Shavuos is not mekadosh the bread. Ela b'shchita, only through shchita. Okay. So you see this ketzad how shchatnes hakvasim lishman v'zarik dam lishman. If they shechted the kvasim that came with the shtei alachem, and they shechted lishma for the kabim of the Shavuos and the damen also kaddish alachem, then the lachem became kaddish. Shchatan shalei lishma v'zarik dam shalei lishma loy kaddish alachem. Shchatan lishma v'zarik dam shalei lishma halachem kaddish ve'enei kaddish. We learned before it's kaddish ain't kaddish. meaning that you cannot eat it. Dibri Rebbe, those are the words of Rebbe. So what do we see over here? It's not the Tana that's Mekadosh. Till now we said the Shtei Alachim becomes Kaddish when you put it in the oven. Here it says, no, the Shechita is the one that's Mekadosh. He means, the Shechita means that if he took the Shtei Alachim, it's connected to the Kivsei Atzeres. Only if you shech the Kivsei Atzeres, then Yavos the Shtei Alachim kann nicht umbeiten. You can't use it for a different Kivsei Atzeres. Andere Kvasim. Once he did the Shechita together with the Shtei, while the Shtei Alachim was there, it's connected to that Shtei Alachim. But the Kiddush is done through the Afiyah in the oven. Okay, we'll start the new Perek. Hadon Allah, I forgot to say. Amanut. Hadon Allah. What? Hadon Allah Rabbi Yishmael. We shall return to you, Perek Rabbi Yishmael. What time is Ma'ariv? Oh, okay.